Why is it not working? Okay. Sorry, the slides are not working. Okay, we're gonna start off with the roll call with Samaya.
So once I call your name, you could just state that you're here in the position that you uphold. Latasha. Jayla. Amber. Alexander. Nevaeh. Jessica. Zaire. Leanna. Hillary. Kayla. Maya. Fatima. Ahmed. Tamia. Derek. Maisha. Marcel. Grace. Kimberly. Daniel. Charlotte. Jalea. Alex. Mason. Fernando. And Alyssa. Thank you.
Thank you, Samaya, for the roll call. Can I get a motion to amend the agenda? We're gonna have a speaker today from the Folk Festival. Grace? Second, can I have a second, please? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Can I get approval of the agenda? Grace? A second? Thank you. Now, student forum, any student present and wishing to speak at this time may respond, SGA members may respond, but can only bring up new topics during senator forum. Is there a student present that wishes to speak? Okay. Old business, there's no old business. New business. So first we're gonna start off with our Folk Festival speaker. She will be here talking with us. Thank you.
I'm really loud. I don't think you need this. Hi, my name is Sandra. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the North Carolina Folk Festival, and I really appreciate y'all giving me just a couple of minutes in your busy schedule. I learned at about 1:45 today that 1 to 4 today was your community forum. So clearly missed that one. We'll have it next year. Folk Festival is in its 8th year here in Greensboro. We'll have 80,000 people downtown in your backyard looking at the world through the lens of art and culture. And that's what I love about the Folk Festival. Whether it is music coming from Haiti or from the Appalachian Mountains, there's just an amazing array of talent that represents not just music, but the cultures these folks grew up in, the cultures they love, and the blending. You know, you take a gal who grew up in Haiti and take the music that she learned in Pittsburgh and throw in a little Creole, and you just get these really amazing things. And so whether you decide you want to come and volunteer or not for the Folk Festival, I hope you take a little time and run downtown. It's the 8th through the 10th, and it's free. And it's just super cool. We have 4 live stages that will be going on from about 5:30 on Friday till 6:30 Sunday night. And it's a super opportunity to see things that you're just not going to see anywhere else. It's all online. You can find the schedule, you can find the information. And I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but I do want to tell you one thing that I think is really cool, and it's called Ethno USA. And this is a group of young musicians from all over the world, 40 of them that apply to be part of this program. They've never met. Half of them won't speak another language anybody else speaks. They come together, they're in town. They're going to spend 2 weeks building a music program that incorporates their little bits of music from all over the world. And I think we're going to have something very special in the presentations that they offer at the Folk Festival. We are the only people in the United States to have this festival come to them this year. So it's a big deal. We're proud of it, and we're really excited about what they're going to share. I'd like to invite you guys to be more, though, than just come and enjoy it. I have, I think, 1,122 volunteer shifts over the 3 days. And that's a lot. That's a lot of people and a lot of shifts and a lot of jobs. And so I would like for y'all, if you have time next week to be part of that, we would be thrilled. I'm going to leave some cards here. And I've already sent you a flyer that she can send out that you can register online. Some areas that we're really needing people to sign up, and maybe you have groups that might want to join you, but we're looking for folks to beef up our bucket brigade. And those people do kind of what that may sound like they do. They carry buckets around. The cool thing about this job is you spend all your time in the performance venues with these buckets, and you kind of walk around and people give you money. You know, it's a happy thing. They give you money, you give them stickers and necklaces and swag and fun stuff. And we're hoping to raise over $20,000 just in these big white paint buckets. But if I don't have people to carry them around, we're never going to raise the money we're hoping for. So Bucket Brigade's an area where we really need help. We're also looking for help in our merchandising tents. We sell artists materials that they bring with them, as well as festival swag that obviously we're looking to make a little money on. So there's lots of things on there. There's lots of opportunities. And if you guys could take a minute, take a look at it. These cards give you QRs that take you directly to our login. The email will do the same thing. And I just appreciate your consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much again. This would be a great opportunity, especially if you want to put in any of your hours for SGA. It will be a great opportunity to connect with the Greensboro community as well. But yes. Okay, so now we're going to go into our Senate training. We have incorporated a list of things that you guys just said that you guys want to review and stuff like that into this week's Senate training. I know last week we went over legislation, how to write legislation. And this week we're going to kind of introduce you guys to who are the people in SGA, like how the positions work, stuff like that. So that way you guys can get a little grasp before you guys meet with your committees at the end of this meeting. Okay, Manny.
Hello, everyone. Who said hi? So I will be starting out with explaining the Executive Councils and our responsibilities. So starting off, the Executive Council, who is composed of this? So it encompasses the President, the Vice President, and the Attorney General. The council meets weekly with the SGA advisor, Aaron, to discuss business of SGA. Members of the Executive Council will also give weekly reports to Senate. So with that being said, Mara serves as the 2023-2024 president. Awa serves as the 2023-2024 vice president, and I serve as the attorney general for 2023-2024. But yeah, so the president shall appoint the executive cabinet to be sworn in. Ooh. Can I move this? I can move. To be sworn in by the president at the Student Government Association meeting. The executive cabinet is behind all of y'all. So the vice president shall be responsible for the supervision of the legislative board, which is composed by all the senators, the parliamentarian, the treasurer, and the legislative assistant. The attorney general shall appoint, supervise, and coordinate a judicial staff, which is the conduct team, student members of various panels, as well as 2 members of the Superior Court, which are appointed from 2 senators in legislation. The Attorney General shall also advise the Student Government Association on constitutional matters. With that, we use this document, or I use this document called the SOPs. It will mostly be referred to as by the SOPs, which stands for the Standard of Operating Procedures, which are the bylaws and explanations of everything that relates to SGA and the Constitution for UNCG. So anything from our positions to our responsibilities to our credentials and criteria, all of that is explained in the SOPs. Y'all do have access to it in the drive. If you ever want to review or have questions about your position or what you can do, it's all in there. I use it for everything from what I do with SGA to conduct team to any matter that requires like laws, you know? But yeah. So yes, conduct team, which is the judicial staff that was mentioned earlier. The conduct team helps serves as the, I don't know, every time I explain it, I say lawyers of the school. Whenever you get an infraction or in trouble anyway, you go through the conduct team to help you out through those matters. They sort you out, they help you out in navigating the columbines of student conduct. The conduct team is composed of students, not entirely by students, but it's composed by students. It's a position you can apply for, but they just help with conduct team or student conduct. There we go. Any questions? They're with you. They're supposed to be your representative advisors during conduct hearings. Any other questions? No, perfect. Where am I at? Ooh, please go away. There we go. Ooh. How do you get it to present? I feel old.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go into legislative council and executive board responsibilities. So this is a legislative board. So the legislative board kind of consists of the committee chairs and also, as Manny stated, the treasurer, parliamentarian, and legislative assistant. So Samaya is a legislative assistant. So Samaya does the roll call. She sends out the agendas, things like that. Samaya is a good person to reach out to if you want to add anything to the agenda, as well as if you want to know what's going on in Senate or something like that. Abram is part of the he's a parliamentarian, so he kind of is in charge of making sure the meeting runs smoothly. So for example, if we have voting, he's the person that takes up the votes for SGA. They're all in his folder. If you guys want to see, you know, like the votes from previous legislation and things like that, he's in charge of that. He's also in charge of making sure that Robert's rules in order as well. Noah, he works with Mason to basically help with the budget. So as you guys know, the finance team kind of works with student groups to allocate. So the treasurer kind of works with Mason to allocate these funds, as well as with the SGA budget, because SGA does have a budget for events and things like that. So he kind of keeps us aware of the things like that. Derek, he runs elections. So currently he's doing the fall elections. So he kind of makes sure elections go smoothly, especially with campaigning and making sure that the candidates are aware of the rules and keeping them aware. Mamadou is not elections chair, but he is historian. Mamadou is in charge of basically making sure that you guys put in any initiatives that you have done in the legislative tracker. So I will go into what the legislative tracker is, but anything that you do SGA related would go into the initiative tracker. You put in what you did, what event it was, things like that. And he'll make sure that that's organized. And he also makes sure that any legislation that has been passed or presented would be in the SGA draft. And then Grace is current concerns chair. She basically handles various issues on campus regarding any concerns that may arise. And then Mayer is legislative chair. She works on any legislation that is passed or presented in Senate. She makes sure there's no spelling errors, there's nothing wrong with the piece, and works with whoever wrote the piece to kind of help it be presented in Senate. She also lets Samaya know if any legislation may be presented. Mason is finance chair. He also works on the allocations, like I stated before, when he came up here and said whatever the finances were. He is the person in charge of looking at all the numbers. And then Tasha is the SGADI chair. SGADI is basically in charge of making sure the university is accessible and also handling any diverse issues that go on campus. So each of you guys will be in a committee. So all of these chairs are really good to know, depending on what committee you're in, and also their responsibilities kind of coincide with what you'll do in your committee. And then, so every member that was in the legislative board in the previous slide, they were appointed by me. They have their office hours as well, and they have them regularly. Or what's this information is like already restated, but this is also just basically what is in the SOPs, the standard operating procedures of what they specifically do and what each committee does, and also what the historian, treasurer, and legislative assistant does, and parliamentarian. But I will also go over the governing docs committee because that's also another thing. So the governing docs committee is basically they review and edit any changes that need to be made to the SOP or also the Constitution and the SGA bylaws. So for example, last semester, they added a new position called the International Senator, which we talked about last week. That had to be in the SOP because basically the SOP is kind of helps us understand how Senate is run, how SGA is run, and how like each position has their responsibilities. So again, like if you have any questions about how your position works and things like that, or want to make any changes to your position on the SOP because you feel like it doesn't fully represent it, then you can always go to Manny. And then senators can also be in the governing docs committee, which you would just review any changes that you would like to add, any edits that need to be made that may be just grammatical or things that were last semester that were passed that need to be added on. Okay, executive cabinet. So the executive cabinet is made of directors selected by the president. The executive cabinet works with the university. So I like to say that the legislative is more with the senators, and exec is kind of helps with like, you know, meet with faculty. They're kind of your bridgeway in between. So for example, current concerns may work with the student, like the director of student affairs or the director of business affairs, because current concerns work really a lot with dining and like a lot with parking as well. And the secretary of business, well, the director of business affairs works with dining, and they would be your main liaison since they do meet with them pretty like all the time. So I would use them as your resource. And once you're in these committees, your committee chair will be able to provide you with more information on how to contact them. Majority of the people that are chairs have either been chairs before or meet with me regularly, or will meet with exec to kind of know who to contact. So this is our executive cabinet. Michael is director of academic affairs. Michael oversees academic concerns. So Michael works with currently the UNCG Faculty Senate. They have their academic policies and regulations committee. That is any changes that's made into policies at UNCG, they kind of go over that. So for example, midterm grades, that was because of the academic policies and regulations committee. So Michael sits in there to tell us what things are going to go on in the university, what policies may change next year. The chief of staff is Mama. Mama works with the entire executive cabinet to make sure things are maintaining and going through. She also helps with just being Mara's like right hand and helping her out. Hunter, he's the director of student affairs. He works with students directly, so he may meet with the vice chancellor of student affairs just to go over students' responsibility. Jordan is director of business affairs. Jordan works with dining, parking, every campus entity that is outside of UNCG, Jordan works with. Ren, she works with environmental affairs. So she meets with UNCG sustainability to kind of see what efforts that we can make to become more sustainable. So Ren is also a good contact for if you have any questions on what UNCG may be doing to like implement zero plastic, things like that. Kaylin, she's the director of media affairs. So Kaylin works with the PR team heavily, as she introduced them last week. Kaylin is the person that helps run our Instagram page. She helps with the marketing as well as, you know, t-shirt designs, you know, photo shoots, stuff like that. She is in charge of that. And Jaisha is director of community affairs. Jaisha works with the UC blood drive. She also helped on the day of service. But the community affairs kind of does any outreach events that we may be doing with the UNCG community. And that's our executive cabinet. And then each cabinet has their initiatives. It's no longer a week, but last year we did a week of events. But basically, this is a good opportunity as a senator to get your hours in. These initiatives are basically like an entire week or like events dedicated to their positions. So for example, last year we had ASG volunteer service event. LL, we're missing Jalen, but Jalen is also the ASG liaison. So Jalen, ASG is the Associate of Student Governments. So the Associate of Student Governments is a separate entity from UNC. Well, it's a separate entity from the UNC system. So it's basically all of the UNC systems, all 15 of them, that meet regularly once a month to discuss any issues that may pertain to the entire UNC system. And Jalen is part of that. So he meets with them regularly to vote on things that may be going on campus, as well talk about different stuff such as their budget. So I like to think of ASG as a bigger SGA for the entire UNC system, but he works with them diligently. I think we'll talk about ASG more since we're going to have our first ASG meeting in September. So that way that we can kind of give you guys an overview of what they talk about rather than like just give you their previous things since we're going to have our first meeting. But that's an example of the ASG volunteer service event. So we kind of do events centered around what their positions are. There's a multicultural event, which the director of community affairs did last year. But a lot of the senators last year did volunteer in these events, and it's a great way to connect with them as well. And then I'm gonna go into y'all's responsibilities. Okay, so as a senator, you do have to do outreach. So like I said, I'm gonna show you guys the initiative tracker. This is in the drive so that you guys can see. Okay, so the initiative tracker is basically where you put if you did any events. So if you had volunteered last week and First Friday at the G, or if you had done something SGA related, you would put it in here. So for example, last year we put our legislation from last year as well. Any legislation that is on there would be on the initiative tracker just so that we can see. I think that right now, Jordan has hers on there. So there's Spartan Service Day. There's Spartan Service Day. There's Spartan Service Day, which if you are also in Spartan Service Day, you can put your name on here under participants. So that way you don't have to put multiple entries. But usually we try to get everyone from the event to just write down their name so that one person can put it up there. And then also, if you're also going to be on the blood drive, put your name on there. But this will help kind of showcase like what you did during SGA as well. And you need 3 of them. But as y'all can see, we always have events like every week. So it's not really hard to do. And then make sure that you guys tell the historian as well if you guys have any events that y'all are working on or events that you participated in so that they can know. And also, if you are going to plan an event, please let me know. Please CC me, Manny, and Mara as well, so we can know what events that you guys are planning, just in case if we have like any direct contact to the person so that we can get to you to who you need. Okay, attendance. As a senator, you are required to come to almost every Senate meeting. You can have 2 unexcused absences, but there is a condition to this. If you let me know that you are like you can't be here for some reason, then we can communicate that. But I think the big thing is that I really do need y'all to communicate and check out emails. If you, for example, have 2 unexcused absences and then you don't like let me know, then you may be subject to removal since you guys are appointed to these positions. But the main thing with this is just let me know, because if we don't meet enough people to be here, then we can't vote and then legislation isn't passed. So. Okay, Senator 101s. So as Vice President, I do meet with each of you on 101 just to see your progress in SGA, what things you guys want to complete, how I can help you and things like that. Those will be going on maybe this month. I'm gonna wait until maybe the newer senators are sworn in so that way it can be all together. But during this time period, you can meet with me. You can also meet with me because anytime that you want, just let me know and I can make an appointment. Okay, so these are just a few reminders. Senate meetings are not optional because we do need quorum. We do need to vote on things, as well as we have the new committee thing where we're having committee during Senate. That is the time where you guys have to meet with your committee to discuss what things that you guys are planning. If you're not in the group meet, please join it. There's really important reminders on events, on things that we're doing, things like that. And then that is my email, my phone number. And then please check your emails. Yeah, but thank you. And then Erin for event planning.
Hey, y'all. How we doing? Show me your thumbs. We're good. We're okay. Not so good. Okay, we're hanging in there. I'm going to try to make this fairly quick, but also super informative. SGA's impact is only as big as what we're doing on campus, right? So it's one thing if we are coming to our weekly meetings and have really engaging conversations, but we have an entire student body that we should be attempting to interact with or engage with on some level. And so I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit about event planning. I've been doing event planning in a higher education setting for a while now. And so I'm always happy to help you all share knowledge with you, get you connected to resources. And so if you have ideas that you want to make something happen, come chat with me and we can figure it out. So we're going to talk about planning inclusive and impactful events. This presentation is available for you all as a resource after today. There's different links and resources that can be clicked on throughout the presentation. So use this as a resource afterwards. But I would love to hear from a couple people here. What has been the most memorable event you have had during your time at UNC Greensboro? I will call on folks, but yes, thank you. The bonfire for homecoming. Yep. Yeah. Other events, Jordan and then Hillary. Yes, we love the good cookout. Hillary? Wow, I love that. And so I like to tell folks that 5 years from now, after you've graduated, you might not necessarily remember the classes that you took or the professors that you had, but you're going to remember the experiences that you had, the friends that you made, the events that you went to. And so events here on campus are almost always free. As students, you all do pay a student activity fee. So you are paying for the Campus Activities and Programs Office or SGA to put on these events. And so I like to tell folks to get good use of your money by going to these events. Events on campus are also a chance to learn something new, meet new people, build a sense of community. We want Spartans to stay here, right? And so if we're not engaging with folks in between classes, after classes on the weekends, they might not be staying here. They might be going home or going to different institutions in the area. And so our goal is to help folks connect to each other and build community. Like Hillary said, you can go to events and get inspired to do different things or get involved, but events also help you learn about yourself and others. And so all of these things are good things that we can be giving to the UNCG community. So when you're planning events, I think it's important to start with your why. Ask yourself, why should this event take place? What are students going to get from this event? How will students engage with one another or with SGA folks at the event? But most importantly, how does this event connect with your SGA position? We have lots of positions that are specific to certain populations of students. And as you all saw, you are responsible for doing some sort of outreach to your constituents. And so how does it connect? We have to make these events make sense. And so starting with your why will hopefully help you guide to a good event. And then identify your basics. So the who, what, when, and where. Who is your audience? Obviously, a lot of our events are going to be open. We're not going to restrict someone from coming to an event. But if your aim is commuter students, how are you reaching out specifically to those commuter students? If it's transfer students, what do they need, or how can you get in contact with them that's different than what you would do to get in contact with the first year students? And who are you collaborating with? Obviously, we are all in these positions, whether we were voted on or chosen to be in these positions, but we are not always the content experts. And so if we're trying to do something, we need to work with campus partners to bring those content experts in and collaborate, whether that be a department or a student group. And then what is your event? Does it have a theme? Again, what is that impact you want to have? If I ask you why you want to have an event and you can't answer that why, I'm probably going to tell you to maybe think about it a little bit more. And then when is the event happening? Be intentional and mindful about holidays and breaks. Know what is already happening. And so if you are wanting to plan an event the week of homecoming, that's probably not going to work because there's a million other things going on campus and it will be super hard to get a reservation. Where is your event happening? Location is key. It's unfortunate that here at campus, we have not a lot of ideal programming spaces, but there are places that we can have a multi-purpose or different setups depending on what your event is. And is that event available, appropriate, and accessible? We'll talk a little bit more about accessibility later on, but you got to start with the basics if you want to have a good event. You have to have a vision. Once you all come to me with a vision, or once you come to your leadership team, we can make it happen. And so how can we make sure that our events are impactful and inclusive? I am a strong believer that inclusive events attract broader audiences. And so why does this matter and what role do we play? Programming looks a lot different now post-COVID than it did before. There's a lot of increased emphasis on social justice and activism, and you all are the people that are advocating for our student body. And so that is our purpose, is to advocate, educate, and serve. And so we want to make sure that our events are inclusive, people are feeling welcomed to our events, and that takes a lot of intentionality. So when you think about who's at the table, this can be thought in a couple of different ways. Who's at the table for the planning of your event, and who's at the table or showing up to your actual event? We can look at a lot of the demographics and data on Spartan Connect on who is getting involved in SGA, but it's important that whoever is at the table for planning has a part in planning. You want to make sure that people's voices are being heard, that you're validating what they want to see. And then you want to make sure that you are getting a good audience at your event. I don't think that your event attendance reflects the quality or success of your event, but we want to make sure that we are trying our hardest to reach as many students as we can, and that can look different depending on the type of event. So being inclusive is not always easy, does not always come first-hand nature to folks. We have to be able to identify the challenges that our students are potentially facing. And so some of those barriers could be disabilities, whether that is a physical disability, a mental health disability. A lot of our students are dealing with mental health issues. And so how could someone with a mental health issue be impacted by our event? Are we setting up the room in a way that is inclusive to someone who might have ADHD or gets overly stimulated? And then what identities are brought to the table? Identities is how a person shows up, how they feel, how they act, what experiences they're bringing. And we want to make sure that we are inclusive of all of those identities and mindful of the folks who might show up to our space. Accessibility is huge. If we are having an event where we're having to move around a room, we have to make sure that we leave space in between tables for folks who might be in a wheelchair. Accessibility is also the food that we're providing. Are we being mindful of dietary restrictions? Socioeconomic status is also huge. A lot of times we might have like a dress code for an event. Does that dress code take in consideration someone who might be a lower socioeconomic status? How are these students getting the dress code apparel items? And a lot of our events are free, so that is helpful, but we have to just be mindful. Academics, we have some really rigorous majors here on campus. And so are we being mindful of midterms and finals? How are we planning events around these different academic barriers? And how are we making sure that we are being mindful of everything that's on everyone's plate? We ask a lot of people, especially students, especially student leaders. And so we have to take into consideration the challenges that folks are facing. We never know if someone is having a bad day or going through some personal issues. And so by us asking them to show up to these events and engage in these events, we have to make sure that we are providing a space where people can do that. So removing barriers, we have to know where they are, and really barriers show up in events everywhere. The training that we do for student leaders, how are we setting those expectations? How is the training being given? I know we are also trying to do a lot of in-person stuff now, but if you all have not noticed, COVID is back on the rise. And so how are we being accessible, and how are we accommodating folks who might not feel comfortable doing in-person events or doing in-person meetings? We have to make sure people are being represented at the table. So if we're wanting to do a multicultural event, we should probably reach out to the Office of Intercultural Engagement or some of our multicultural organizations. How are people hearing about our event? I know we're really good about posting on Instagram, but what about our folks who might not have social media? How are they then hearing about our events? And so by identifying what some of those barriers might be, and then being proactive about how we can overcome those barriers, I think can help us be more successful in programs. And I think we have to be continually advocating for students, being mindful and proactive. And if we see a need, we have to fill a need. And so if we know that the current concerns chair has seen issues with parking or dining, how are we going to facilitate some changes? And that doesn't always have to be through legislation. I'm going to talk about a couple of inclusive programming guides or just things to think about when you're planning your events, either with SGA or in a different organization. Be aware of holidays and religious observances. We have a very diverse population here on campus with a lot of different religions that people recognize. And so if we are asking people to show up to an event, we have to make sure that we're not doing it on Easter, or obviously we wouldn't do something on Christmas, but there are so many more religions out there that we have to be mindful of. If we're having a themed event, we have to be aware of how that theme might be interpreted by various identities. We have to avoid themes that might stereotype groups of people. And if the theme is going to be representative of a specific identity, we have to make sure those people are at the table when we're planning. Avoiding language that is ableist, sexist, racist, culturally insensitive, and incorporating gender neutral language. So I'm not originally from North Carolina. When I started working in higher education, I would greet a group of folks by saying, "Hey guys," and that is not gender neutral. And so I am embracing the South, and I greet people by saying, "Hey y'all," or "Hello, lovely people, lovely humans," but just trying to be mindful of how we are portraying gender. Again, we're going to talk about accessibility. So clearly include accommodation statements and materials. So if we are having an event and we want people to have the ability to ask those accommodations, we have to give them the information of who they can contact and open the door for them to ask for those accommodations. I give an example here what an accommodation statement might look like. SGA strives to build a culture of belonging where all members of the community feel valued. For questions about accessibility or to request accommodations, please contact this person at this email no later than 5 days prior to the event. And so if you are planning an event and you're putting your event into Spartan Connect, you should add this accommodation statement just to open the door for people to ask that question. I think we've kind of gotten away from those accommodation statements. And so sometimes that might have people avoiding events because they might not feel like they will be able to participate fully. And then include a brief description about what the event will entail so attendees know which accommodations they may need. And so if we are moving around a lot, letting people know to, we're not just sitting at a round table discussing that we're moving around. Language, I talked about this a little, but use requested names and pronouns, but do not assume everyone wants their pronouns to be shared publicly. It is super cool that we can add pronouns now through UNC Genie, and if that's something that you want to do, I encourage you to do that. And then just make sure we are including everyone in our pronouns by saying everyone or y'all instead of maybe ladies and gentlemen. So as programmers, and the expectation that I have of you all is you all should be trusting, inclusive, respectful, accessible, and compassionate, and optimistic when planning events. Planning events, but everything might not go exactly the way that you planned, but you have to keep a good attitude. As long as your event attendees don't know that the caterer is late or the vendor didn't show up, and you can keep things moving and kind of provide a distraction, everything will be fine. Our event location should be accessible, functional, clean, efficient, and inviting. If we are having an event at a space, we have to leave that space better than how we found it. And so if we have a food truck, we need to make sure we have extra trash cans around so people don't just throw trash on the ground or our trash cans aren't overflowing. If we're going to have policies that students have to do X, Y, Z before the event, we need to make sure that students know that before coming to the event so they can be well informed. We want to make sure our events are enriching, that students are taking something away. While social events are fine, I think SGA's purpose is a little bit more intentional. And so how are we advocating? How are we educating? How are we making a more community for our Spartans? And those processes should be consistent. So if you are having a tabling event or you are having an event for SGA, I would love to see you all taking attendance at these events. You can do it manually by entering email addresses or 88 numbers into Spartan Connect. Or if you have a bigger event, you can come visit me and I can get you a swiper where you can swipe IDs. But we didn't do that at all of our events last year. And if we're not collecting data, we don't know who we're reaching. And so by taking attendance, we will be able to get a better picture of who we're interacting with and who we might not be meeting their needs. The basic steps for programming, again, this is a really brief checklist, but you want to brainstorm, you want to reserve a location. I can help with this, but we'll also identify a couple of other folks in SGA who can make reservations on virtual EMS. You'll want to submit a Spartan Connect event request. If you don't know what this is, there is a presentation linked at the end of this PowerPoint on how to submit those Spartan Connect event requests. You can work with Mason or Noah or myself to make a budget. If you need to make purchases or get caterers or food trucks or vendors, I will be your point person to do any of those contracts. Work with the amazing PR team to get a marketing plan in place. Our events are only as good as we can market them. And so if we plan this big event and we just throw a graphic up on Instagram, we might not get a good turnout as opposed to if we were tabling or we had chalk on campus and we were going out of our way to promote the event. You got to think through all of the details. I am really good about asking a million questions and getting you to kind of think through a timeline or getting you to think through the process of things. We also want to consider risk management for our events. If we're expecting a large audience, how are we controlling the flow of people coming into the event? If we are planning to have an event outside at the fountain, but a hurricane is coming, do we have a rain location? And so a lot of things go into planning these events. And I am more than happy to help kind of go through all of these steps. Once you do all the planning, you're going to have a fantastic, amazing, incredible, impactful, and inclusive event. And then I want you all to reflect on that event. Did we serve the purpose that we were hoping? What kind of impact did it have? Did we gather feedback from our event attendees and take that information and keep making changes and improving? I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. Again, this resource is linked at the end of the presentation, but this is an event planning checklist that was put together by NACA, which is the National Association for Campus Activities. This goes into a lot of depth about event planning. Not all of these things you would necessarily have to do, but this is a really good resource if you want to kind of start the planning process and come to me with this checklist to say, hey, Erin, this is the ideas that I have. This is the work that I've done. Can you help me with some of these things? So this is some things you can be doing pre-event. This is some ideas for marketing. Again, our events are only as good as we market them. And so how can we work with the PR team? How are we getting our graphics up on the digital screens across campus? Are we chalking? Are we tabling? How are we getting the word out? This is some of the logistics that you should think through when you're planning an event, how to reduce the risk. How are you staffing your event? How are you ordering supplies? How many of those supplies are you ordering? If you run out of supplies, what are you going to do? What is your backup plan? This is during the event implementation. And so how are you checking people in? What is your timeline? How are you doing a walkthrough? And then just making sure that any of your collaborators, groups, offices are on the same page as you. And then just a post-event checklist. So like I said, students are going to remember the events that they attended. It is kind of a lot of pressure for you all to put on these events and create these experiences for our students. But I think that you all have a great team of leaders. There's a lot of returners here that have done things in the past. And so utilize your team, utilize your resources, work together, work smarter, not harder, collaborate with other offices and departments or other student groups. But really, I hope that we can create some meaningful moments here on campus for this academic year. These are some of the resources that I talked about. So the checklist, the inclusive programming guide has a lot more on that guide than what I put into the PowerPoint. So if you are curious, please feel free to check that out. There's also a PowerPoint on how to create an event on Spartan Connect and how to take attendance. Like I said, all of our events, all of our tabling initiatives should all be on Spartan Connect, and we should be taking attendance at all of those events. That is the expectation that I have of you all for this year. And if you have questions on how to make that happen, I am happy to help out. That was a lot. Are there any questions? All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. And Erin's a great resource to use whenever you guys are planning events. I know that was a lot of information, but do you guys have any questions in terms of senator responsibilities and stuff like that? Because I know during this part, we didn't really go through questions. Does anybody have questions about your responsibilities, committee chairs, and how executive cabinet works as well? Yes. Oh, Kaylin? Can someone yield their time to Kaylin? Yeah. Okay, so I was gonna try to show, but basically, when you guys are in an event, most likely whoever's hosting the event will list down anybody who is participating in that. That could be through the sign up genius, or that could be through like group me like this message if you want to be part of the event. So for example, Spartan Service Day. Since Jordan already put one entry on there for the Spartan Service Day. Oh my God. Then in this section where it says notes, links, and participants, you would just put down your name. Since some of your names aren't on there, I would just put down your name on that side so that you guys can get credit for being there as well. And then when Jaisha does have the blood drive, she will put you guys' name on there as well. That's why she sent out the link to sign up. Also, if your name isn't on there, just let her know and she'll be able to put it on there. But basically any event that you guys have, for example, if your committee is having an event, most likely whoever organized the event will put your name on there, and it wouldn't be on the collaborated with. Where the collaborated with is with, like, for example, the EUC blood drive. We're collaborating with the EUC and Red Cross, so that's where it would go. But the participants would go on this end corner, if that makes sense. Does anybody have any more questions? Okay. Okay. So now we're gonna go into your committee assignments. So this is all in the drive. If you go under my folder, it's VP slides, and then go to this meeting, and then you just click your senator committee assignment. And it's also on, this is also under my drive too. But this is your committee assignment. I don't know how long that you guys want to meet. Is 15 minutes okay? Or do you guys need longer? Amber? So I did it based on what you guys picked on the committee form. So I picked who, if you didn't get your first choice, you may have gotten your second choice, but I picked based on your committee. Who? Oh, okay, sorry. You're gonna be on legislative board. I'm sorry. Where do you see your name twice? That's the other one. But who's on there twice? Okay. Where are you? I don't see it. Oh, and your name's Tamia? Okay. Okay. Sorry. You can meet with me and then tell me which one you prefer, and then I'll put it. But for the rest of you guys can meet with your committees. But also, how much time would be good enough for you guys? Is 15 minutes okay, or would you guys like longer? 15 is okay? Okay. So I'll give you guys 15 minutes to meet with your committees. And then during this, you guys can tell your committees any ideas you guys want to work on or events that you guys want to work on this year. Your committees is going to be your helping hand in kind of knowing what you guys want to do and event planning. So each of these people will be a guide. Mason isn't here today, so Noah will be in charge of the finance committee and letting you guys know what your responsibilities are. You guys can break out. Hold your hand if you're a chair. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay. Oh, sorry, my bad.
No, it's just that one, yeah.
You said what? It is. Did you fill out the form?
Yes.
Oh, which one did you want to be in? Okay, I just put you in finance because they're both kind of pulled up, so, sorry. And then,
Being legislative though, that's fine too, you know.
okay, because I didn't know if you want to be the same one as your sister, so.
That's fine. That's fine. I prefer it.
So you want to be legislative?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm sorry. Which one would you prefer to be in? I know that this one is kind of filled. So I think I'll go with finance. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry. Can you put a time on it? Like 12 minutes, because like, yeah. Huh? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
So is this the alphabet?
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome.
Did you talk to the
I emailed her like a day or two ago. I haven't heard back.
Okay, I'll email her. If you don't respond. So yeah, so I'll tell her. But I'll put it this, she'll be able to contact you. She said,
She's opposite.
yeah, she's also. So you can just mention it to her. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. What's that? Like email me. Semester with that.
You have to get the last one. I'll tell you. But I can help you out. Yeah. But I don't know if she's gonna do it. Okay, guys, can y'all please return back to your seats? Oh my God. Okay. I'm so tired, bro. It's time. Okay. 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 Thank y'all for being able to meet with your committees, and I heard some really great ideas from each committee. Does anybody want to share any ideas that they talked about in their committee that they're excited about? I'm gonna pick one of y'all. Tasha. Thank you so much. And then Grace. Thank you so much, Grace. Okay, and so next week, basically, you guys will be actually meeting with your committees and the things that you guys wrote down for ideas. I will give you guys suggestions on what you guys should work on first and how you guys should go about it. So that way that next meeting, you guys can have things to talk about on how to plan that specific event, legislation, or action that needs to be taken. Okay, executive council reports. So we're gonna start off with Mara, president report. So her office hours are by appointment and she'll update them soon. She's upstairs at 2:31. That's her email and her phone number, what she's been up to. She went back home. She's helping with the allocation process for MPHC, sorority/business meetings, volunteering for her psychology lab, and preparing for fall elections and meeting with exec. What's coming up, she's going to be doing fall student group allocations, fall elections. Please share them on your Instagram. Exec council meeting, UNCG versus Louisville, wear blue and gold. That will be this Friday. Yeah, so we will be handing out these shirts so that you guys can take out to that game. Also the first EUC blood drive, which is tomorrow, and then part-time job fair from 1 to 4 p.m. in Cone. Okay, and then Manny.
Hello. So like last week, my office hours are by appointment. Still in the same place. There's my phone number. Again, don't text me, email me. What I've been doing. So I finished up the last bit of training for panelists for conduct team. That was really fun and exciting. My FYE course, I love my freshmen. They're really exciting. And I look at them, they make me laugh, brings me joy. I finished up with the last little bit for my last time being in SOS. We finished up the banquet. I took a trip to Raleigh. If you play Pokemon Go, there was this PokeFest, I think it's called. I don't know. I just go with the vibes. But those are photos from my trip and also all my requests that I caught. And then I figured out an area of study for grad school, public administration. So at least it's a starting point. Coming up, tomorrow's a part-time job fair from 1 to 4. I have professional development for POW tomorrow, I think. Yes. The blood drive is tomorrow. Please volunteer or go donate blood. I'm planning out social media plan for SOAR in January and June. And I was going through the archived photos, what they call Artemis. That's where all the schools upload their photo or where all the photos for the school get uploaded. Coming through, and I found Fernando in there. So that was pretty fun. And then my mom's birthday is this Saturday. So I'm going home for the weekend and then Labor Day weekend. So we don't have class Monday. Woo! Goodbye.
Thank you, Manny. Okay, so here's my report. My office hours are by appointment. I'm upstairs too. That's my email, that's my phone number, what I've been up to. I've had the elections interest meetings with Derek. They've been going well. There was a big turnout today. Working in classes, meeting with UNCG's fees and tuitions, meeting with Executive Vice Chancellor Debbie Storrs. I'm just getting to know her and things like that. And meeting with Manny. Fernando is famous today, y'all. But what's coming up? Election application opens, meeting with Aaron and Manny, ASG meeting, classes and work, and then also the fall allocations timeline. And I'm applying to my first law school on September 1st, and I'm getting my LSAT score tomorrow. Senator Forum. Any senator may speak for 2 minutes at this time on any matters pertaining to SGA. Okay. And then announcements. Any member of SGA may speak up to 2 minutes at this time with any announcements they may have. Kaylin. You're so unserious. Thank you, Kaylin. Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. And then Jaisha. Yeah. Yes, also the elections application opens up tomorrow. So if you know anybody that does want to be an SGA, the last interest meeting is tomorrow, and it will be live streamed as well. And then also sign up to donate blood because Kathleen is looking for people to donate blood. Manny, oh, LOL, me. Michael. Oh, wow. Yes, Teresa. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any more announcements? Oh, Noah, do you have, okay, Kimberly? Tracia? Okay, thank y'all. Now we're gonna move into roll call. Samaya.
All right, Latasha. Jayla. Amber. Alexander. Ortiz. Nevaeh. Jessica. Zaire. Leanna. Liana. Hillary. Kayla. Maya. Fatima. Ahmed. Tamia. Derek. Maisha. Marcel. Grace. Kimberly. Daniel. Charlotte. Julia. Alex. Fernando. And Alyssa.
Please don't leave yet. Grab a t-shirt before you leave. And also, I think that's it. Make a line, make a line. Wait. I have to adjourn it. That's what I'm saying. Line up over here if you need a large. If you need a large, size large. Mediums are here. There's no small. Yeah, no, they don't match with this one. I would grab my medium. Really? It's your event, so you get. Yeah, it's my event. This right here. Anybody else in the large, go to the middle. Large. Two X, Kroger T. Two X, Jordan. Two X right there. You don't teach them we big.
Kaylin, Friday, you may have to connect the Chromebook to hotspot in order to take attendance. Yeah, just as an FYI, but I shared the PowerPoint.